We started off this podcast with a banger. Shout out Hazgula. We're now on the Build My Brand podcast, episode number 12. Another special guest here. Introduce yourself, sir.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? I am the show's Ryan. It's a pleasure to meet all of you. I'm him. I think that's the only thing I can say.
This guy pulled up in a suit.
You know what? I feel like every facet of my life reflect, my personality. And so just the way I dress and the way that I speak, the way that I talk to people is just who I am. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not really like so much of a facade or a persona. It's more so of like, that's just the timing that I'm on now. So that's what it is.
Show's always ahead of his time, I feel like. It's like,
He's been wearing this since he's 12.
like he likes to be unique.
I feel like it's not so much about like standing out from the crowd, but definitely like dressing the part is gonna make you stand out. So
This guy told us to all wear chemise, and he's gonna bring a cigar, and we're gonna have a nice sit-down talk. But
Honestly, I kind of want Joyce to just get into a little bit more of his background. Talk a little bit about himself, who he is, his aspirations and stuff like that, what you're currently doing.
yeah, absolutely. And so
Kind of give me a biography, man. Biography.
okay, absolutely. And so I grew up in different places actually. When I was growing up, like my family was really moving around. From just like coming to Montreal when we left Haiti. I was about like 1.5. Following that, we lived in Montreal, but like my dad was always going back to Haiti because he had like a business, he had his house down there and stuff like that. And my mother was studying nursing here. And so most of the time I was always being left with my grandmother in Brooklyn for like 3 to 4 months. And so I did spend quite some time over there, and then we moved down to Gap, New Elmer. And so we spent like around 4 years down there, and then he moved to Ottawa in 2010. And from there, like it's only been up. Like my family loves it here. And, they've always loved Canada. For me, I feel like for a lot of immigrant families, they always want to go to the States. They always say like it's the American dream and whatsoever. However, there's plenty of good opportunities here in Canada, and like your parents are immigrants as well. Shout out to your parents. I mean, your dad was an immigrant as well, so they were able to kind of build a lifestyle that we're now ripping the benefits from.
Yeah, of course.
Right, and so moving from there, I was always like a top student in high school and in elementary school. It's quite funny because it was one of those where I never really tried to get to the grades. I never really tried to apply myself. However, glory to God, I was always like ahead of my time, always ahead of my class. Like, and that's one thing that my father always told me. It's like, you will always be the head and not the tail. And so, throughout every facet that I have lived so far, it has applied. Moving on towards high school, I feel like I kind of hit a plateau because then it's not so much about how smart you are, but more so how your brain can process things, right? Because then you start, getting hit with situations and environment that doesn't really require school smart things, especially when you're about to graduate.
Sure.
And, choosing the path that you want to go, like your university degree and things like that. And so I did have to take a step back to really just analyze if, everything that I've learned so far was enough to push me towards where I want to go next. And I realized that it wasn't. So I had to apply myself to like reading books, watching podcasts, and, getting mentors, you know what I'm saying? Like not only one, I feel like you need more than one person to really help you in life. And so that's what I did. And it has pushed me to, developing good connections and relationships and eventually, be able to launch my own business.
Mm-hmm. And you want to talk about that?
Yeah, absolutely. And so I run a client acquisition agency called Augmentify, where we mainly build infrastructure sales infrastructure for customers, for clients, for mainly we target B2B companies that are more in the tech sector as well as other agencies. And so we build the entire sales systems for them, and we also build out retention systems for them as well. And so we offer 3 different tiers. We offer the tier number 1, which is a lead generation package, where we take care of everything from your inbound to your outbound lead generation. We also have a tier number 2, where we include everything offered in tier number 1, but we also have an account management portion of that package. And so we manage all of the accounts that we help you bring in. And our 3rd tier is called the sales cycle ownership, where we take over your entire sales cycle from the prospecting to the qualification stage to the negotiations and finally closing the sale.
Fresh. So how long have you been doing that or building that out?
Well, it's quite funny that you say that, but I got the vision in January, and I really wrestled against it, right? It was one of those where I knew that that's what I was good at. I've always been a person that's good at talking to people. But, when God gave me the vision, I was kind of wrestling because I was like, I don't think I'm ready just yet. And so I kind of delayed it up until, I would say, like, beginning of March, like end of February-ish. And then following that, I was just like, you know what? I got to build this thing. So I really started to apply myself, and I went on some sort of like sabbatical where I really just cut off like everybody that was, my life, all the noise. And I really, really worked for 2 months, like straight, you know what I'm saying? And so we were able to launch on June 6th, and it's been great. I feel like people don't really know everything it takes to actually build a business. And so like we're still building out different systems, to this day. And so I feel like we're definitely going in the right direction.
Do you think this is it? Like this is the thing that you want to do for a while or forever? Just because I know you do a lot of things like trading, and we can get to that later. I know you're building, I know there was another software you were building before. I don't know if there was 2. There was 1. But yeah, and then I don't know what happened to with that, but that's why I'm asking, just to see, like, you think this is it?
I absolutely think it is. At least the way that I like to segment everything is, I like to segment everything from, I give myself 10 years. So I build everything that I want. I kind of plan out everything that I want to build in the next 10 years. And then from there, I just take action. And so Augmentify is definitely something that, I have an entire scaling plan for, to take it from where we're currently at to where I want it to be. So definitely it's what I think this is it. The other software that you were talking about, I did start the UX and the UI design. I had hired some people on Upwork to help me build the entire thing. But then I had to also hire like software engineers and stuff like that, and it was getting way too expensive. And obviously, like, mind you, like I'm 20 at the time. I don't have 40, 50,000 to spend on software that I don't know if it's gonna work or not. Obviously, I did have pretty big competitors like Monday.com, like Asana. And so I think that the product market fit would have been pretty hard to integrate. And so that one, I didn't forget about it. I still have the domain. But
the biggest thing on that too is like, with what you're building now, and I kind of get this idea too right now, because this is kind of where my mind's going with Build My Brand long term. But with what you're building right now, startup costs is like relatively efficient because it doesn't take too much to like go out and start lead generation on your own and try to connect with businesses. And then obviously if you're offering a service that doesn't require, heavy fulfillment costs, at least to start out, like your cost is very low, right? So absolutely. What that means is what you're previously working on could then be leveraged later down the line by the clients that you currently are bringing on board, especially if you're competing against like those bigger competitors like Monday, Asana, ClickUp, and those people. You won't have to go out and try to target the same market because you already have, these businesses that you've been working with. So they're more than likely to subscribe to something on a monthly basis that you built up.
Absolutely. And what's quite funny that, we're just going over the subject of those companies that, I'm currently targeting and I'm working with is that a lot of them, you know, when I was I mean, I would say like 8 months ago, 9 months ago, like I was applying to jobs to these companies.
Yeah.
And now it's like, oh, you went from applying to jobs for these companies to now partnering with these companies.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I feel like a lot of people, they will settle down with, oh, I can make 100K, I can make 150K working at, you know, Zoom or working at Google or something like that, not knowing that you can literally take all the knowledge that you've had so far to instead partner with these companies to, you know, go from 100K to making, for example, $1 million a year. So it's pretty great. It's pretty
That's fresh.
Are you currently working?
No, I stopped working. I feel like it's so hard to manage both.
Yeah, it is.
Especially because I was working in the sales engineer, you know, space. And so there was a lot of like meetings and a lot of, you know, a quota and like just different things. And working in tech, it's really demanding.
I don't know if you can relate, but for me, it wasn't hard to manage both. I could definitely do it, and I did it. I just like wouldn't want to, like I just didn't want to be in the meetings. I just like, it was so hard for me to just open the laptop and do like the task that takes 10 minutes, but like that 10-minute task, so much harder to do for me than, yeah. And then instead, like I'm on my computer like pretty much usually all day, and I have no issues like with whatever I'm doing with BMB or trading or whatever. But that 10 minutes of like Excel work was hell. Like I couldn't get myself to do it.
The thing that's like difficult to kind of look at and like comprehend is like when you're running a company or you're working within something that's scalable, right? The way you kind of have to look at things, like even if you're at a loss in your business for like 3 months, 4 months at a time, typically like when you're running a company at scale, those losses are going to be greater than anything that you could go make at work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so what happens is on a monthly basis, like let's say you're down like 30, 40 grand within your company, like you going out to get a job to help offset costs isn't like really going to do anything.
It's not 4K going to do.
Exactly. So the thing is, a large majority of the time, it's like not really worth it to go out and even put your time and energy into that, and rather invest that time and energy into making sure that you could make back those losses or whatever.
And I know you pushed me or like told me this for the longest time, and I didn't have the balls to do it till like.
Bro, you don't realize the money's not there. Like once you stop, you don't realize.
Yeah, I'm good.
I feel like it took me a lot of faith to just jump both feet in, because like it's one of those where I've never done that. You know, like I've always had money coming in somehow. Like since I was 15, like my parents never had to pay for nothing.
Exactly.
Like the only thing that they helped contribute towards was my undergrad, right? But I never asked them for nothing. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, okay, now I'm not working. If this doesn't work, like the bills for the business is still gonna be coming. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm spending around $1,500 on different softwares that I gotta use.
Yeah.
Because I'm not running ads at all. I'm completely going organic with this.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, if I'm not working hard towards this, then I'm gonna be broke.
Yeah.
And so I feel like it kind of puts you in a state of mind where it's like your back is against the wall. So the only way you can go is forward.
Exactly. I totally agree with that.
The thing is, at the end of the day, it's like when we look at it on scale, like if we look at it at scale, it's not very much.
It's not hit. Yes. So
To like really put into perspective, like yeah, you might have let's say 1,500 in overhead, but then you might work 9 to 5 on Friday to just cover that. You know what I mean? So like a large majority of the time, it's not even worth it to go out and do that. Like I said, just rather invest that energy into like moving forward or like getting on a client call or like whatever it is, you know?
like let's say one closes 10 grand. Let's just say that's it. Like you working that 40 hours a week times 4 weeks doesn't even bring in like 1/3 of that.
And you know what's crazy is that, because I've worked in tech, right? And the people making 10K a month are like the top 1%. You know what I'm saying? And even at that, like after your 10K, you gotta pay taxes, you gotta pay a mortgage, you gotta feed, like if you have a family, you gotta feed the family.
Yeah.
And so it's like it doesn't actually come out
It's
to
not
10K.
meaningful.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like
it's not.
like with 10K, you're not rich. You know what I'm saying? I feel like, especially if you're living like in Toronto and Montreal, like even in Ottawa, to be honest, you know what I'm saying? Or, you know, in the States, making 10K is like barely helping you get by.
Yeah, I feel like you're maybe comfortable, but like one accident, you're done. Like for example, like if your car crashes, like you're done.
And I mean, it's debatable. Obviously, it just comes down to where you live.
Yeah, it does. I mean, it's relative. Like for example, if you're taking a month in like Texas, you're fine. The cribs are like 300K. You have a big ass mansion.
Yeah, but even at that, like, it comes down to how people want to live, right?
Yeah,
Because, like, not everybody even has to go and buy a house. Like, some people just rent forever.
that's true.
And, like, that's the thing, too. Like, I used to have an issue with rent. Like, obviously, I'm renting here, right?
Yeah.
I still somewhat have an issue with it because the way I see money is, like, you want to be able to put your money into something that
Gross.
exactly, that either grows or, like, you can have access to it at a later point. So, like, putting it into rent, like, it just disappears. But for, like, the average person that's not looking to invest, like, long-term or, like, looking to do anything, like, they're just looking to live. If renting is cheaper than buying a house, you might as well just rent.
Yeah, sometimes it's convenient as well. Like I know Luke Belmore likes to travel and shit, so he rents everywhere. So yeah, educated the same.
I mean, like, and you know what? I feel like especially for like Gen Z, like it'll be impossible for them to buy a house.
Yeah.
Like houses now are selling for $1 million up. Most either states or provinces are requiring at least like 5%. I mean, I know it's like that here in Ontario, but 5% of let's say $1 million. How much is that? That's like 50K. You know what I'm trying to say? And most
Which is
people,
doable, but then they won't have anything after.
they won't have anything after. Like what? Like you'll be sleeping on probably the carpet for I don't know how long. You know what I'm saying?
Say it took you 2 years to collect that. It's all gone in 1 year.
It's gone. Plus, you still got to pay like your welcome tax. You still got to pay like just a bunch of stuff that goes into owning a house. Whereas, like you said, you could be renting, and let's say like you take like a 1 year or a 2 year lease, and then you just stack up the bread on the side. At least you don't have that obligation of like, oh, I gotta pay off $1 million in debt. Because at the end of the day, like getting a mortgage is still a debt, and people don't really see it. Not every single home will appreciate in value.
Yeah.
You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, at the end of the day, too, like it comes down to location,
Yeah.
and especially in Canada, like looking where you could live, most of the time, like if you're French, you'll be in Quebec. If you're English, like you're either gonna be in Ontario or maybe BC.
Yeah.
But for the most part, like anywhere in Ontario that's like a relatively decent place. Like when we look at the map, the province is big as shit.
Yeah.
But there's not very many places that you can live at inside the province.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so if you're gonna live in any of these central locations, odds are you're gonna end up paying a shit ton of money.
Yeah.
And it's not affordable for anybody that one hasn't like had a family member that's gonna help them put money down towards a down payment. Or like if you don't have, let's say, because some people take out another loan to go pay off like the down payment.
Yeah.
Right? A large majority of the time, like it's not affordable. And for me, the way I see it, and like we could get into conspiracy theories and stuff like that, but when we looked at the World Economic Forum,
Yeah.
basically one of the things that they mentioned in there is that later on in life, let's say, I think it's within the next 5 to 10 years,
Yeah.
basically what they say is you'll own nothing and you'll be happy,
Yeah.
right? And so essentially where the world's going towards is obviously right now the rich run the world,
Absolutely.
but the rich are going to own everything in terms of property.
Yeah.
Right. And so for the average person coming out of high school, if you don't have a family member that's backed by money or anything like that, like your only way of like really making it out is one, getting a regular job and just renting for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Or two, you figure out how you can start up a company, make a good investment or whatever it is. Right.
Yeah.
And so with that being said, it's like, yeah, I completely agree. Like we're not necessarily given the best playing field in terms of like real estate and property at our age, but there's obviously different ways to like do it.
Before we dive further into like the whole, World Economic Forum, you mentioned something that I really liked. Like a lot of people, they don't have that those family members that can help them. With just like purchasing really like any type of asset, right? Yet alone just things as basic as investing. And so I feel like, especially for immigrant families, you're taught from the time that we start making a little bit of money that wealth has to go up. And so it's like, okay, you make money, now you got to take care of your parents. Meanwhile, our Caucasian counterparts, from the time they're younger, they're always taught that wealth goes down. And so it's like, okay, I make money, but it's going towards my children.
Yeah.
It's going towards, this, it's going towards that. And so I feel like another big reason why, especially as immigrants, we're not put in a favorable position where we can buy homes, buy assets, and things like that is because we have a bunch of things, a bunch of people that we got to take care of. I got to send money to Haiti. I got to do this. I got to do that. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
And so I feel like it's another, I would say it's just putting us at a disadvantage. And it's just because of financial education.
On that note though, like the thing is too, growing up, especially my grandmother, bro,
Yeah.
like is always telling me, oh, make sure you save your coins, make sure you save your money.
Yeah.
And the thing is like saving money and putting money aside is like we're taught that doing that is like
The way to go.
is the way to go, and it's account to be safe, right?
Yeah.
But the reality of it is it's not going to do anything.
It's not gonna do anything. It's just gonna sit there, collect dust, and then lose value.
Exactly, lose value over time.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not a believer at all of saving money. Like to an extent, obviously. Like I always keep a safety net of about like 3 months of expenses.
Yeah.
And other than that, like I'll figure it out within 3 months if ever something happens. Other than that, I dump everything into investments or
whatever I can.
And you know what? Talking about that, the like my advice that I would give like any, especially like young man, is to be hyper aggressive about their goals.
especially in your early 20s.
Especially if you're living at home, you're not paying rent, you don't have to pay the mortgage. You know what I'm saying? Like even if you gotta pay like your tuition fees, that's what like $7,000 a year. You know what I'm saying? Like even with a minimum wage job, you'll still end up making 15 to 20K a year, right? And so like, be hyper aggressive. You know what I'm saying? Don't be afraid to go broke. If you're under 25, chasing after your goals, because at the end of the day, I feel like you're always gonna be at a disadvantage if you don't take risks.
100%.
Was that?
I totally agree.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, also when it comes down to it, it's also about risk management, right? And people like don't understand how to manage that stuff. Like you mentioned, like a 3-month safety net.
Yeah.
For me, myself, like the way that I look at it, like these are always mental notes,
Yeah, they are.
right? Like the way I look at it is like, if I know, for example, I have to pay rent
Yeah.
and I have a car payment, I essentially make sure that I can pay it off for at least a year.
Yeah. For
Right,
a year.
for a year. That's the way I look at it, because I know that over the span of a year, I'll be able to figure it out.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? Like you say 3 months. For me, 3 months is too short.
But for me, I have less expenses. Like, for example, the house is covered. If ever I'm fucked, like, I'm good for 3 months. I figure it out. I could get the law involved and shit like that. And then you get that stuff sorted out. Other than that, like, let's say I get a car by the end of the year. That would add to my safety net. I'd probably maybe extend it to like 4 or 5 months. But other than that, like, I know you have much more bills to pay. So yeah, for me, it's just the house. Like I have no expenses pretty much other than that.
Yeah, and me, not only that too, is like I have to make sure that everybody can get paid out for a year.
Yeah.
So that's the way that I look at it. But yeah, I think the issue is most people don't understand risk management. And the thing is, we're not taught financial literacy. Like we're not taught how to make money. We're not taught how money works. We're not taught where money comes from. Right?
And you know what's crazy? You talking about that is that money is never made. It's always
passed on.
It's always passed on.
It's always passed on.
You know what I'm saying? And so, like, even going back to the whole idea of like, people that just be saving their coins and this, that, and the third. It's like, for it to recycle and go back to you, you have to spend.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Be diligent, of course, but you not spending money is always going to be putting you at a disadvantage compared to people that are spending money the right way, right? So you might as well spend it. Like, what's the point of getting like 0.5% interest from your bank, the savings account? Feel me? Like, I've never gotten like the mindset of, especially like people under 30, that be thinking like that. Like, you gotta get your mindset checked. That's one thing for sure.
You know what's crazy to look at?
Yeah.
And I don't know why this has been on my mind, like heavy on my mind all week. The fact that I feel like people look at the game in the wrong way, right? Like everybody looks at life as in like, we're humans, this is our society. And then, this is gonna sound like fucking random, but like, obviously there's like animals in the jungle and shit like that, right? And the mentality is kill or be killed, right? And the thing is, life and society works the same way, but our kill or be killed our food, what we're hunting for every day, isn't necessarily to go eat. Yeah, it costs money to go buy a meal, but it's for us to have the money so that we can do what we want with life, right? In the jungle, it's, you know, you go hunt down the food so that your family has stuff to eat, right? So it's exactly the same thing, except we don't have to kill food by hand. We have to go make money by hand, right? And so what happens is people don't understand that, and this is difficult with people that are money hungry, that are always looking to save their money and always looking to be, you know, very diligent with it. You don't understand that the actual objective is for us to go make money. And at the end of the day, we're somewhat in competition with everybody else that's out there, right? So it's like, who's more hungry for, you know?
Yeah, that's what it's about. But you know what? Like, just to take it even a step further, I think that what you mentioned is even harder on men. It's way harder on men. And the reason why is because I highly believe that, to an extent, women will always find either someone or a way to be taken care of.
Yeah.
Right? For example, let's say that you get married. You as a man, you have some sort of responsibility to take care of the well-being of your woman, right? She doesn't have that much of a responsibility to take care of your well-being because you're taught that as the man, like you said, you have to get up and chase. You have to get up and, you know, go for the hunt. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
And so,
But it also comes down to like who you are as a person, right? Because there's some men that don't have a problem being with a woman that's kind of stuck in that mindset. You know what I mean? And that's the thing. Like,
Yeah, this is pretty inspirational. I can't lie.
it's true though. Like, it comes down to who you are as a person. Because me personally, like, I'm too prideful to be with a woman that is doing better financially than me.
Oh yeah.
yeah. I feel like my ego is through the roof. I
Exactly.
would never let that happen.
And that's the thing, right? So I feel like it's the way that our society is. And like, that's who we are as an actual species. And I feel like we don't look at life for what it actually is. Like, bro, we're animals. You know what I mean? And the way our mind is wired, like, we think, like, we have senses. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so people just look at life wrong. Like, you know, like, as bad as it sounds,
Yeah.
like, people might take this in a bad way, but it's more so the concept, right? I don't have an issue.
Disclaimer. People might take it in a bad way.
Well, I don't necessarily have an issue with people going out and creating drug businesses.
Okay.
I don't do that myself, but like, I don't have an issue with people running that because at the end of the day, like, for them, that's what works and that's what they feel like they need to do. If that's what they're good at, that's what they do to go out and support their family. You know what I mean? Like, so when I say it's like, it's kill or be killed,
Yeah.
it's almost like at the end of the day, but we're a species. It's do whatever you can to survive.
Absolutely.
Right? And obviously there's like morality behind it and stuff like that. But like, bro, fucking, who was it? Like, I know Luke Belmar obviously talks about like, he's never gonna like fuck with somebody that, you know, runs like scams or anything like that, right?
Yeah.
And I personally wouldn't go out and run into scams or anything.
Yeah.
Right? But the thing is, no matter what, in any sort of business, no matter what you're doing, no matter where you're at in life,
Yeah.
in order to acquire money, somebody else has to lose. Even if you're fucking running crypto, even if you're doing stocks. So it's like,
So that's the way it works.
yeah, and I just feel like people feel morally better about doing certain things because it seems more legal.
Yeah.
And,
Right.
and you know what? Talking about that, there's one thing that I always tell myself is everything that's legal is not ethical. And everything that's ethical is not legal. Right?
Elaborate with that.
Okay, I feel like I gotta go a bit deeper. For example, if let's say that, I think the best example would be this. Let's say that you and I, let's say we live in the same apartment, right? You have a room in the apartment, I have a room in the apartment. Now, the apartment was signed under your name, but as you know, your friend, you allowed me to stay here, and I'm paying you like, let's say like, I don't know, $500 a month.
Yeah.
Right? Now, let's say we get into an altercation or an argument, and I have the legal rights to just leave and, you know what I'm saying, like, not help you pay out anything, right? Even if you're in a tough situation. But it wouldn't be ethical for me to just do that to a friend. You know my point?
Yeah.
So it's like, I feel like we kind of have to make a difference between, okay, is this legal and ethical? Or is this legal and not ethical? Or is this even ethical and not legal? And so I feel like when it comes to morals and stuff like that, especially with like you mentioned, drug business, you know, this running scams and things like that, I feel like, especially as a Christian, you know, as someone that, I preach as someone that, I do have, I would say, like a position where people kind of look up to me. I think that a lot of people misunderstand the integration of your human nature, right? Because many times we're taught, since the time that we're very young, right? We're always taught like, okay, listen, you don't do this, you don't do that, you don't do this, you don't do that. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like we're living by certain laws that many times it's man that decided whether something was wrong or right.
Exactly.
Now, for me personally, when I see the integration of the shadow is not so much to use the shadow for your benefit when it's putting someone else in, let's say in danger, or giving the example of the drug business, me selling drugs, yes, I will build wealth. However, the other person will build an addiction. But to use your shadow to, I would say, dismantle these type of ideas. And so I would, if I could explain it a bit further, I look at it more as it's actually hard to understand.
Well, here's the thing though. Let me tell you this, because like I said, like when it comes down to it, it's about what people feel morally correct about. So like one point that you said is we're taught what's right and what's wrong, but based on no foundation. We don't know why this is right and why that's wrong. Like for example, you said, right, somebody running a drug business is like they're running it to build wealth, but the other person's building an addiction.
Yeah.
But then the other thing is to look at it is like, let's say you buy like shares in crypto, or like you buy like a bunch of coins at a hella cheap price. A bunch of people buying after you. Right? Your value goes like through the roof. Everybody's there for the same reason, but because you bought it earlier, when you pull out your funds, it's basically equivalent to a rug pull.
It is, yeah.
Right?
It is.
And so the thing is, it's about what you feel morally correct about, but at the end of the day, somebody's losing, right? So you pulling out funds and making millions in a crypto coin, totally legal. Somebody else could have had their last in there and invested their life savings and expected that to pay off for the family. Not saying that what they did was smart, but that's the thing that we're not aware about. So knowing that which you feel still morally correct, you know what I mean? And like, it's tough. It's a tough loss, and you wouldn't want to do that to anybody. But the reality is, like, that's what you're doing.
That's what it is.
You know,
That's what it is.
like, bro, running. Let's say you were to build your own crypto, and to perform a rug pull, bro. You're doing the same thing as anybody who bought in early.
100%.
100%.
100%. Same thing with stocks. Like, let's say a stock runs up and then you get FOMO. Like, the shit squeezes, you buy the top, look at GameStop and all that stuff. Then they got fucking dumped on. And and these guys are still backholding to this day.
You know what?
Mind you,
Go ahead.
everything is a Ponzi scheme. Everything is a Ponzi scheme.
To an extent. To an extent.
To an extent, yes. But like, when you look at it, it's like, I buy in, you buy in, you buy in. You pull out, I pull out, we're pulling out his money. You get what I'm saying? So the company is using another investor's funds to make sure that you're paid out for the stocks that you own.
And you know what? And this is exactly why the way that I view just rules and regulations is that the people who make the rules for the benefit of the people who make the rules. They don't make the rules for the benefit of the middle class man or the middle class family. They don't make the rules for people that are in lower classes. They always make rules and regulations for their own benefits. And that's most of the people that are rich. And I think that has to be one of my biggest aspirations to build wealth at such a young age. Not because, I'm trying to travel a lot, or, I'm saying I'm trying to get a yacht and have like a bunch of, pretty women around me or something like that. But it's more so to be like a positive reinforcement in such a negative environment. For me to kind of stand as like a light, as like a city on a hill, whereas people can be like, okay, bet. So there are some people that are, fighting for us out there. There are some people that are rich, that are millionaires, that are multi-millionaires. But the way that they view the world is not so much to make themselves richer, but to elevate people as a whole, both, I would say, using tangible assets and intangible assets. It could be, I feel like, bro, like talking about intangible assets, like a lot of multi-millionaires and people that are up there are assets. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're straight up available. I mean, like, it depends on who you meet, of course, but like, there's people that like, they'll view their status and you know what I'm saying? Like they won't let anything get in between them and their status.
Yeah.
You feel me? Like, and I feel like, I don't know. That's why it's one of my biggest aspirations, because I know the type of heart I got towards people.
Yeah.
So
We genuinely care
Yeah.
I
for others' well-being.
Yeah, I think for me, bro, the way I view the world, like the reason why I feel like I'm in business is because I genuinely feel like I could create something and create a community of people that aspire to be something greater in life. And it doesn't even necessarily have to be in regards to financial freedom. It just comes down to looking at like the human race for what it is and everybody understanding who we are and what our purpose is here. And like, yo, at the end of the day, when like going back to the point that you were talking about when it comes down to like, what were you talking about? You were talking about how like, we're taught to send money up and not down, right? Another thing to look at is when we talk about, let's say, housing being too expensive and like not being affordable, I think the biggest issue that we have is that us as humans tend to be selfish. And so everybody wants to do things on their own, right? Like there's multiple times like I've told everybody, like, imagine if all the ideas that we have and like the stuff that we're building, if we all came together as one and just created like the biggest thing ever. Right? And the thing is, people just tend to be selfish in the sense where they only want to do their own thing. And what happens is like when you look at like I know Tate spoke on it, like Muslims, right? The reason, and like Jewish people, the reason why a lot of these people tend to have a lot more money is because they're very good at coming together as one and combining funds, right? Like you spoke about a down payment, even 10% down on $1 million house is 100,000, but if you have 10 people that have 10 grand to put in, right? And everybody takes a piece of that pie.
Everyone gets the benefit of that.
Exactly.
Same thing with a car. Like let's say a Ferrari, like 250K, let's say, but like you guys are all like, let's say 10 people putting it all together. Everyone can drive it one day, you know? And like you all have access to the same car, but you put down less.
Exactly. And if we all put in money to buy like 10, everybody would have a different sports car for every day instead of you just having one car.
And you know what? One thing that you mentioned that it makes me think of is that for, Arabs and Indian families, many times they get everybody in the same house or in the same neighborhood. And they put all their money together so that whatever expenses that is required in the house, or like you said, if they want to have a Lambo or any type of big car, they just use each other's money, right? And I feel like
It's essentially a business.
it's essentially a trust fund. That's what it is. And I feel like that's one thing that for my kids, for the people that will be coming after me, that I want to build. I want to be able to have that type of, power where I can just be like, yo, listen, if my son or if my daughter or if my cousin or if my best friend requires any sort of fund, he can get it from that or she can get it from here. And then it's, the money will be going back towards the trust fund. So like everyone is winning at the end. You know what I'm saying?
You want to move over and talk a bit about you trading?
Yeah, absolutely.
By the way, shout out to Jules. This guy helped me out early in my journey with a lot of mental issues, as in like impatience and shit like that. A lot of the emotion aspects of the game. You helped me out a lot. Just want to thank you for that, and go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like trading has been my first, I would say, move towards some sort of financial freedom. Definitely, it's way harder than what people make it seem to be. And the reason why I'm saying this is because many times people feel like, okay, but I have 100K or I have 10K. I'm just going to put it in that stock and then it's going to blow up overnight. No, it's not that easy. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like at first I kind of made the same mistakes that you did. And that's why I was just kind of like, bro, like don't do this, don't do that. Like you got to watch out for this, you got to watch out for that.
And the sad part is, I don't think you learn until it actually happens.
Until it happens. And like you could have the best mentor in the world, but like you kind of have to experience it to kind of find your flow.
You have to lose.
And definitely for me, trading has been a blessing, to be honest. I really started with like trading currencies, and like the second I turned 18, I actually went to the bank and opened a TFSA account. right? I had, I think, like $2,500 at the time. I put it like right away into my TFSA the second like it was approved, and like it went well. Like at the time, like I had bought like Amazon and like just different things that that was way before that was before the COVID
Oh,
crash.
it was before.
Like I feel like that was in 2019. That's when I started trading, right?
Yeah.
And so it started with like long-term investments, moved towards daily, intraday trading, and then now I'm more so doing swing trades. And so I go on it like base per week or per month, but it's been blessed.
Fresh. So you guys want to end it off the last like 20 minutes with conspiracy theories? Because I know Jules let's talk about this.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk a bit about let's talk about faith, like spirituality.
Yeah, sure. What are
What else?
So, quick question before we get into that. We've spoken about this with like every guest we've had. At what age do you see yourself like starting a family, and like what do you want to be able to accomplish before you do that?
I feel like I'm gonna say this. I feel like just right now, I'm in a pretty good groove. I would say that like things are going well. Definitely better than what I had expected 2 years ago, 5 years ago. Like looking at where I wanted to be at 2022. But I would say like I want to get married at like 25, bro. Like, in the next few years, I'd love to find my partner, bro. 25, 26. I feel like that's my ideal age to get married. Like I personally don't have a biological clock, so I'm not so much in a rush to have kids. But having a me, like it just be fresh. You feel me? Like,
of course.
and like I always tell you this, but I want to have a daughter first. You know what I'm saying? Like, I do. I'm a girl. I feel like I'm a girl's dad. You know what I'm saying? And the reason why, like I only have sisters, right? And it kind of,
Like, don't think those.
it kind of like gave me a softer heart towards like, I would say, like having a daughter. You know what I'm trying to say? Just 'cause, like, it just be fresh, like, raising her to.
I have no issue with having a daughter. I just don't want to have it first.
I mean, bro,
Like,
you know
yeah,
what? You know why I want to have her first, though? I feel like for me, it's because I want to give her every single part of my youth, of my strength, of my vigor. And so, like, I want to, teach her, like, listen, I'm going to take you to Dubai. I'm going to take you to the Bahamas. I'm going to take you to Bora Bora so that when you grow up, like, you never expect less from men. You know what I'm trying to say? You never expect less from, like, a boy. And for me, it's just like, if I have her first, at least, like, later down when I'm, like, 35, 36, and I want to have more kids, like, and I might have less time to do these type of activities, at least, like, my daughter's going to be safe. She's going to be like, yeah, man, my dad took me everywhere. I've already experienced this.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't need anything from you.
Yeah.
That's just how I see it.
That's a very good point. For me, it's if I have a daughter as a first kid, I'm running it back right away for next year.
Insane, fam.
Yo, let me tell you this.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have a problem with having two boys.
Okay.
I wouldn't have an issue with having a boy and a girl.
Why?
But having two girls, bro, that, like, I'm sorry, like, yo, if my daughters watch this and I have some, like, I'm sorry, like, I love you. It's tough,
Fam.
Life isn't easy.
Do you know what's so fresh about that?
What?
One can be a senior, one can be in the WNBA.
Bro,
That's so fly.
yo, if I have two sons,
NBA.
yeah, one can be NBA,
But you know what?
it could be a rapper,
I feel like
and he won't be a whore.
WNBA, 100K. You get a son, he's 50 mil.
yes, that's correct. But you know what? I feel like women, like, we need women to survive.
Like, I fear having a thought daughter.
I mean,
I
bro,
genuinely fear it.
there's a possibility of that happening, but
No, I think
that would reflect. You know what? That would
I think
reflect.
it's a certainty.
It's not. Don't listen to him.
It actually is.
Don't listen to him.
It actually
Listen,
is.
brother. That's a possibility, but that's all about the value and morals that she holds at her core. You know what I'm saying?
Bro, show us dick like
bro, I promise you, bro, okay, for example, up until I was in like 5th grade, I thought babies just came like that from God. You feel me? And I remember I was corrupted by Ice Flex. And he told me, he was like, nah, bro, you dumb. Like, it's not only 6. That's what he said, you feel me? And then I was fighting the idea, but my point is this, like, I was an innocent child, you know what I'm trying to say? And like, it's the same thing for if you have a daughter, bro, like.
Bro, the thing is, let me tell you this. In today's society,
I refuse. My daughter.
No, let me tell you this. No, it's much worse. In today's society, bro, it's normalized for a woman to be on OnlyFans and feel like they're independent and free.
That will not be my push.
Okay? And what happens, bro, when like, these are things you genuinely have to fear, like, in our society. Bro, imagine you give your daughter an iPad, okay?
Okay.
Like, you're supposed to go on Instagram, watch Coco Melon.
Okay.
But instead, you're hit by a World Star video of like, oh, woman starts OnlyFans at 12 and makes $1 million in a month. And then next thing you know, there's OnlyFans downloaded on your iPad. Like, what do you do?
You know what? I'm going to say this. And that's one of my favorite Bible verses when I think about things like this. If you raise a child in the way that he or she should go, when he gets older, they won't depart from it. And that's just how I see it. If from the moment, starting with me and my wife, if, for examples, there's no such thing as like cussing or like, yelling at each other in the house, or like they see how we treat each other, they see how we love each other, they see how we make love. So that's crazy. But my point is this though, the child might see it, and kids are smart. Kids are extremely smart. They learn so fast. They might see it and be like, oh, my dad said I can't do that, or my dad said like this is bad, so like let me stay away from it.
But you know what the difficult thing is to understand?
What's up?
Is that more now than ever, and I feel like it's only going to get worse in the future, is that unfortunately you and your wife are not the only people raising your kid.
Absolutely not. It takes a village to raise a child.
No, but what I mean by that, bro, is like the schools raise your kids, right? Like the internet raises your kids, right? And so like you can only give them rules and regulations to follow and show them why and show them how to do things. Yeah. But they're going to be shown by 1,000 other people, and they're going to be curious as well. And that's why it's difficult. Like, bro, Mario spoke about on like another podcast. He spoke about like why he's scared to even send his kids to school.
I think the same thing. I'm actually scared too.
And that's the issue. Like, bro, the second like they get old enough to start having friends and start staying over at friends' house and then seeing how their parents are, right? And like, mind you, they're like the kids of those parents are very likely to be people that we've gone to school with.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? The same mother that you knew growing up that was down the street sucking dick over there and like doing shit, and then have their kids, and then their kids are raised knowing that, like, bro. Keep your fuss. Like,
it's true.
Like your kid's friend, their mother might be the same person that you saw posting ass on Instagram when you were growing up.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that's a difficult thing to take into account. Like, you're not the only person raising your child.
And I feel like that's kind of why you have to be really diligent with your circle. Just because, the school do have an impact on, like the development of a child. But I feel like the outer circle of that child, the inner circle of that child, so things like aunties, uncles, friends, parents, and just everything that goes on into the development of a child. Like, it could be as simple as is the child watching, Mickey Mouse, or is the child watching like Bible stories, or is the child, listening to King Von at 2 years old? You know what I'm saying? And that's the reality of the things. Like, we fail to realize that a lot of the things that go on into a child's mind are within our control. It's all about your approach to it. You know what I'm saying? And that's kind of why, like, I really give shout out to my parents for the way that they raised me. And the reason why I'm saying that is because, like, everything, like all the beatings I went through, you feel me? Like, bro, up until I was like 16, man. Like, I was fighting my dad at 16, you know what I'm trying to say? Like, but everything that I went through made me who I am today. Made me a person that holds righteousness and integrity to its core. It made me wise. It made me, like, smart. And I feel like it's the same thing. Bro, if my kid is going to be acting up as believe, bro, I'm going to say this on air, bro. I kid's trying to get a beating, bro. What are you talking about? You know what I'm trying to say? Like, why are people ashamed to say like, yeah, bro, like you do that, I'm gonna give you a beating, bro? Like it's just the reality.
You know why though? Because the way that society is shaped, it's shaped by whatever's portrayed out there. So like if especially here in Canada, bro, if everybody says it's bad to beat your kid,
Yeah.
like imagine you go box your youth, and then after you have your youth go to school come Monday, and then the kid's mad. The teacher says, "Why are you mad?" "Oh, my dad hit me." You know?
Yeah.
And the thing is, there's another thing for like your kid to know to not go to school and say that, but at the same time, it's like, if that's your way of disciplining your child, like nobody else should have a problem with that,
Yeah.
right? But yeah, man, it's difficult, like just looking at life and understanding, like I don't know if you feel the same way about this,
Yeah.
but like for me, like let's say you're gonna be in a relationship, right?
Okay.
Like with a woman, right?
Okay.
The way that I see it is that being in a relationship with a woman is almost equivalent to being like a kid's father.
With a child.
Like the reason why I say that is because I feel like women tend to be followers,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And as a man, you're supposed to be a leader,
Yeah.
right? The same way that you would lead your child in a family,
Absolutely.
right? And you show them the way is the same way that you're supposed to lead your woman. And what happens is, more often than not, because women are followers, many of their friends tend to be single and put them in positions and situations that they shouldn't be in, right? And so a lot of times, like as a man, it's like if you don't want your girl doing certain things, you might be seen as insecure. But the reality of the situation is you're trying to create a woman.
And you know what's
And trying to
crazy
create a
though?
mother.
Is the fact that, okay, look, they'll call you insecure, like you lack confidence because, you know, you're telling her like, well, listen, like that's a bad idea. Or like, yo, these people are not good for you. You know what I'm saying? Or like, yo, like why are you entertaining this? Why are you entertaining that? But the worst thing is that after they made the mistake, they come to you for you to fix it.
Exactly.
You feel me? And for me, it's always been like one of those things that's like
Prevention is better than cure, bro.
prevention is way better than you know curing the entire thing. It's less expensive. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, so our camera just died. We came to the realization that we're gonna have to do a part 2 because we're running a little bit short on time here. But I think it was I think this was an interesting one. I feel like we could probably talk for 3-4 hours.
Yeah, thanks. It's gonna be good. I feel like definitely a part 2 is needed.
We're kind of tight on time right now, so it's
Yeah.
unfortunate.
Yeah, honestly, let's hop into a part 2 next week.
Yeah. Cool, I mean, I'm down. We can do it like same time on Friday.
But
Okay, cool.
so yeah, with that being said, thank you for everybody that watched the video till the very end. Like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll catch y'all on the next one.
Yeah, thank you guys. Peace.